everyone, welcome to Grace and Liza. Elizabeth here. Going to be jumping back into the Brutfuners again. We did the flower boxes last time in part 1. This is part 2. There will be a part 3, so that just kind of lets you know how much there's to do with all these pencils here. I guess it is a lot of pencils, so it's a lot of videos. But we did the flower boxes last time, so this week we will be working with the yellow box. I'll kind of flip it over here so you guys can see the label right there. It doesn't work so well under the desk but here it is. It comes in 2 trays. Now, unlike the flower boxes where you can get them in either box by itself, this one only comes as one package with the 2 drawers right here. So you can't just get 280 or 260. You have to get the full 520. I can do math, I promise. With these, they do say that these are oily colored pencils just like the other ones. So it's kind of an interesting thing to figure out, well, which one's which, how do these perform? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. How do these look in comparison to each other, and which one should you get? Because there's a little bit of a price difference. So let's switch on over to the desk cam here, and we will pull out a tray to look at. First, look with the pencil. Now, I did already take this out. It does come with a swatch chart. You see, it's got a bigger area. This is the one that comes in the flower box. I love that this one's 1 page right here. This one is going to take 2 pages per drawer to get through all of it, because it's 4 altogether. So kind of a switch off there, whether you want it all on 1 page or if you prefer having a little bit larger spot with the color. That is personal preference. I prefer this. I like 1 sheet. I like whenever I make a swatch chart, I try to make it as short as possible to squeeze in without it being too small, but to be able to get the most information on 1 sheet so I can look at it easily. But if you look at these pencils, let's pop one out here. We'll go all the way to the end, these nice deep red. What you will see is that the pencil itself is missing some information compared to the other one. This is out of the other box. Look, it's got Brutfuner really small. This one is Brutfuner really big. Font's a little different too. That makes it really interesting. This font is closer to what's on the box. This is totally different. But this only has a number on it. That is it. There is no name. There's not 2 numbers. This one, as you see, has the number here, which I had to put some pastel in to be able to see right there, as well as like a little code number. The code number kind of tells you what family group it's in. This one we'll look at a little bit later over here when we compare, but this one helps put them in a number order, which is helpful and not helpful at the same time. Yeah. But compared to the other set, this one does have the same layout where each tray is kind of 1 little color scheme going through. You see this one, we've got this nice little journey from beige all the way to a dark red. I kind of think of this tray as the ketchup and mustard tray. Then we get into one that's more just kind of oranges and browns. Then we get into these pinks and purples, then blue. They're not really following a great order here. Like, there's no cohesion from tray to tray, which would be really helpful if these were done that way. Metallics are mixed in. Here's the metallic, as are neons. They're just kind of put in. Kind of helps you understand where they would fit in the color scheme with them. But if you're looking for just your neons, it's a little harder to find them. We'll look at those again in a minute when I get to the swatching of them. So this is, as you can see, there's 10 trays in each drawer. Just like in the boxes, there are 10 trays in each of the flower boxes. You can't see the size difference though. This is much more compact compared to the drawer, or to the flower box. So the tray itself isn't as heavy duty. It's a little more flimsy. They take up a little bit less space. But pencil size is pretty much the same. Let's go back. I'll get all these put back away. But if you look, we'll pull up the 2 pencils here side by side. The one that came in the flower box is a little bigger. So 4 size, if it's hard to see right here. Hopefully you can see that. Here, I'll move this. If you look, this pencil here, this one came out of the flower boxes, is a slightly larger pencil. You can feel it when you hold it in your hand. So it's slightly better quality. You're going to get more core because the core is bigger too, not just the wood. So that's one thing to consider with these. These are cheaper than the flower box. So know that you do save a little money with them. So if it's not a big deal, that's something to take into consideration for you. I prefer a slightly larger pencil for the feel, and that's a personal preference. You may like a smaller one, depending on your hand, what feels good to you. But that's my personal opinion. Now let's look and see how these look on paper. I have already swatched these, and yes, these swatch charts are already available over in the Etsy store, or shop right here, so you can kind of see how they look. Let's kind of put the tray here. These take up so much room on the desk, so we can kind of look and see. Pencil, we'll go with a dark one right here. So you see it is a pretty good match right there. 501 right here. This one's one of the neons. It's a little dark on the barrel to what it looks like. Not too bad. And these would fall into the budget category. We'll get to that in a minute when we get to the price per pencil. We've also got a neon right here. So you got to see how these look in comparison. These are the creams. Not a whole lot of difference. If I had them closer together, you'll be able to see a little more difference. Right here, we're getting a little more yellowy. Then it drops back just a little bit with them. I think these oranges actually are a pretty good match right here. Like you look for the color. Although if I was looking at the barrel, I would think they were the other way around right here. Oh no, wait, sorry, that's that one. That's that one. So they are trending a little bit lighter than what the barrel is. Okay, so color match is okay. I've seen much worse. We'll put it that way as we look a little deeper into that. So let's look at what happens if I put these, because they have numbers, and the numbers have to mean something. So let's kind of look and see what happens when we go into number order with these guys. This is what happens with number order. It is a hot mess. The only thing that I think was useful is you have 001, which is the black, and 002, which is the white. That was helpful. And if you go to the end with these, I'll flip all the way back. It does have the neons and the metallics together. That is it. And here we can look at these with I've got my black light right here. Turn that on. So you see there's all the neons and here's the metallics. That is about all you get from the number order. Other than that, it is a hot mess. I'm like, this is so not useful. So that is going to be what is coming in part 3, is we are going to be making a useful order for both boxes so that you can, both sets, so that you can actually have this. So that's going to be part 3, is figuring out a way to get a very good useful set, because this one is almost useful. You can kind of see the way it's going. It's like, oh, this is great. Then you get to the last page. Let me get to the last page here. It takes a lot of pages. These have a lot of information. We suddenly get a random white, a brown, and Nostalgia Rose is like, wait a minute, what is going on with this? This makes no sense. Why did we suddenly get these back in here? They didn't put any of the metallics or the neons in any sort of order here. They're not even all there. Some of them are mixed in elsewhere. So it's like, I don't get what's going on. So we'll be getting these all figured out and sorted, and that will be what is in part 3. So be watching for that. That'll be coming. But let's go in a little bit deeper with these so we can give it a full review. I've already filled it out here so we can kind of look. This is the original one. I didn't know there was a second box. That's why it doesn't have a label there to say that this is the flower box versus the yellow box. Here's the yellow box. So let's kind of pop these side by side here. Yeah, you can see them. Cool. Move it down just a little bit so it's out of the way. So with erasability, I picked some similar colors. You can see that the yellow box erases a little bit better. Blendability was pretty much the same. I was actually kind of impressed with the way that the yellow box laid down. The yellow box has a smoother laydown. I don't know if you can see it really well, especially looking right here, the differences in the laydown between the two pencils. Now, normally when you're doing color pencil works, you do multiple layers, so it doesn't end up being as big of a deal. But I was like, that's interesting to see, as well as the blending right here. I think because it was smoother, it was able to blend a little bit easier and just like a little bit of layers. Not a huge difference. That's why they pretty much got the same score here. Opacity on these was a joke. I got out the white pencil right here, 002, and that it's on there. Like, there is the white pencil. I went over this. Like, I can go over it some more right now. And it's like, is there anything going down? I was shocked at how little opacity this has. This one wasn't great, but in comparison, especially saying these are budget level pencils with their cost, I am like, how? I'm just blown away by like how like non-opaque these were. So I got a 1 for opacity. Hand fatigue, these feel pretty good. I mean, I have swatched them and swatched them and swatched them, as you saw in the swatch sheets. So I've gotten a good feel for them. They do not wear out my hand any more than any other budget pencils. So they're actually, it was a little bit nicer. They did lay down a little bit better. So good there. Color vibrancy, I went just a little bit less right there. I feel like, especially compared to the barrel, that they aren't quite as vivid as the yellow or as the flower box. So I ducked them a 0.5 point there. Predictability was pretty good here. I gave it a middle of the road. It's better than a lot of other budget pencils. I have seen some really bad barrel color to what it lays down in budget pencils. So these just being a little bit lighter than what's on the barrel, I kind of expect that because I don't expect budget to be as highly pigmented as what are considered artist grade. So judging to what they should be judged against, I feel like they're pretty much middle of the road. Now for the cost, right here, what you can see is and I do these based on Amazon because that's one spot where I can kind of get an even playing ground for all of the pencils versus getting them off of different sites where one might have them a little cheaper than the other. I figure that's one spot where if I find the price there, it's good for comparison. So the yellow box set that we're looking at today is only $79.99 versus $119.99 for the flower box set. You're still getting the same number of pencils, 520. So that brings this one to 15 cents per pencil and this one to 23 cents per pencil. Still incredibly cheap, like beyond cheap. I'm wanting to say these are the cheapest pencils. I'm pretty sure they are. Because let's see, even if we had a set that was $10 for 100 pencils, well, that would be 10 cents a pencil. So it would still be a little cheaper, but still, and you're only getting 100 colors. This is giving you 520. I want to be able to get them to a usable space, and that's part of what part 3 is for, so that I can see if there really are any repeats, because it's really hard to tell in the way they are right now. If there are colors that are pretty much exactly the same, to where it's like, yeah, it says 520, but realistically, you're getting this number, so be watching for that. We'll be diving more, and this will be in both sets. We're going to be doing this set and the flower boxes. So 1,040 pencils, getting figured out where they sit, and it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it. So I hope this has helped you kind of decide a little bit more about if the yellow box is better for you or the flower box. I'm torn. I really am, because I love this packaging just because it's a little bit easier to use than those flower boxes. But they have so many pluses and minuses. It's hard to say this one is the right one, because again, they're both good, and it's just like, especially for the price. I mean, I think these are perfectly fine pencils. I wish you could get them in open stock. So if you use up one, you're kind of toast on that. Fortunately, there are other colors that are really similar that can take its place. So anyway, that is it for today. If you've made it all the way here, why don't give this video a like and consider subscribing. I do a lot of color pencils reviews, as well as other craft projects as well. I have live streams, I do a bunch of shorts. So would love to have you along on the artistic journey with me. And we do videos on Saturday, every other Saturday, release a video, and then on the off weeks, we have a live stream on Fridays. So just know that those happen on a regular basis. So would love to have you join us at those as well. So until next time.